Welcome to the March 2023 Transformation Q&A. My name is Allison Grant Lounes. I am the creator of Foolproof French Visas. I am the admin of the Americans in France Facebook group. I am the owner of a relocation agency that helps dozens of people move to France every year. We typically work with people who are self-employed, have French or EU family members, or who are retiring to France to get the right visa and create their dream life to live here. I also have the Profiles in Transformation podcast, which tells the stories about people who moved to France, and it's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places where you can get podcasts. It's available on our website. And before we start today, I want to talk about the episode that's coming out on Wednesday because it is a very exciting one for me. It was really fun and interesting to do, and it combines some of the things that I'm really interested in outside of my work with helping people to relocate to France. And that is, I interviewed Sarah McGrath, who is the founder of an organization in France called Women for Women France. And this organization has as a goal to support immigrant women in France who have been victims of domestic violence, coercive control, administrative abuse, and to help them to navigate the legal system, which is often very different from the legal system in their own country or in most Anglophone countries, and to provide resources in 15 different languages to help them to understand how things work in France and what kind of support are out there for them. So in honor of International Women's Day, which is Wednesday, March 8th, and which has a theme of equity this year, I interviewed Sarah, and her episode is really interesting, and it talks about some of the pitfalls that women can have when they end up in France with an abusive partner, especially if there are children involved. And so I don't normally ask for any kind, donation or anything for attending these free webinars, these free Q&As. But this week, I would really like to ask you to go ahead and listen to that podcast episode on Wednesday. And if you attend the Q&A, if you enjoy the support that I give to the Americans in France community and to the international community in France every month for free, I would really love to ask you to donate to this very important cause. In December, I was very fortunate to make an 1,800 euro donation from Your Transformation to Women for Women France. It funded some important things on their website, and they are very grateful for any support that they can get from donors, whether you're in France or not. The donation is tax deductible in France, but they are severely underfunded. It's a very important cause. These resources that they have created did not exist before. So I set up a fundraiser on my Facebook account so that the Americans in France community can donate and we can see what the donations have been. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the link right here to this post so that if you could donate even just a couple of euros, even 5 euros for the help and support that you are getting here today for free, it would really mean a lot to me. And then please do go ahead and listen to that episode on Wednesday when it comes out, because it talks about a lot of serious issues that affect not only American and Anglophone women in the expat community, but can really affect anybody who is a foreign-born person in France having trouble navigating the French legal system. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started on some of our questions here. So Brett and Karen, we have a question about the medical certificate. We had our examinations and x-rays on February 24th. This is the OFI medical visit, which is required for certain visa holders arriving in France. We each received 2 certificates, one for our records and one for the prefecture. The other did not have a specific instructions about how to submit it to the prefecture. So these certificates they are filed as part of your visa renewal application. So you do not need to do anything with these now. Since you're our clients, you're going to send them to us for our records, but you don't have to do anything. And when we go to renew your visa next year, we will already have them. So that's it. Other than that, you don't have to do anything. It's very common for people in certain areas to not have their OFI visit until it gets very close to their visa renewal time. So, they don't necessarily expect you to complete the visit within the first couple months that you're in France. I mean, you guys got here in January and it's only and it had your OFI visit at the end of February. We have clients who arrived here in July of 2022 and they're in Carcassonne and they still have not received any kind of information or convocation or anything from OFI. So not very unusual. Okay, Carla, what is the insurance requirement for student visas over 28? I've seen something on catastrophic travel, medical, repatriation, and civil liability, but I find conflicting info and not much on the subject of age as a factor. So the information on insurance under over 28 for students is going to be depending on your school. So I would contact them about the insurance requirements, because some schools, even if you're over 28, now allow people to register directly on student health insurance. So I would check with your school and see what they recommend or require, and if it's a part of your visa list, which you'll know after you have your interview with Campus France. I keep having technical issues with the France Visa site. I uploaded all my supporting documents a few weeks ago, so I'd be ready to submit as soon as I receive confirmation from Études en France EEF for student visas, and they have since disappeared, and I no longer have the option to upload any. So I created a new application and it's not giving me the option to upload any supporting documents. You don't upload anything to the France Visas website. You upload documents to Études en France so that you can get accepted into your university program and have your interview to determine whether you're a serious candidate for a student visa. But on the France Visas website itself, you do not upload any documents. You fill out your visa form, you download the visa form, you finalize it, you download it, you print it, and you bring all of your supporting documents to your visa appointment. And you need to physically go to VFS, Carla. You can't just submit everything online. So if you don't already have an appointment, you need to make one for this week at your nearest VFS center, at the VFS center where you want to go. Okay, so Andrea, we're planning on moving to France in 2024 and selling our house. What are some recommendations you have for what we need to do now to prepare for our move? All right, so the first thing that you want to do is sort of figure out and plan what kind of visa you're going to be applying for when you are ready to do that. You can start by understanding the process right now and just kind of understanding what the timeline is, what documents you'll need to provide, things like that. You can do that through reading Foolproof French Visas. Now, the other thing that you can do to start to prepare is start to understand, and you don't mention whether or not you plan to work in here, but if you are thinking that you might want to work, whether you might want to be self-employed, if you want to freelance, be an artist, whatever, start thinking about how you can do that in France and what the opportunities are. And you also want to start thinking about how some of the tax issues of becoming a French resident and a French tax resident might impact you. So if you're somebody, like if you're going to be selling your house, if you have a lot of assets, if you own a business or have a trust or anything like that, one of the resources that you'll want to look into is in our Fast Track to France program. We have a very thorough book of questions that you want to answer for your own personal financial situation. And then you want to bring those to an accountant who is competent in both US and French taxes. If you have a complicated tax situation, like you want to know for sure before you move to France whether or not you are going to be impacted tax-wise and how you might be affected. So in Fast Track to France, we have 9 different modules that cover different areas that you want to prepare for your move. So we talk about career and finances, we talk about financial and estate planning if you're older, but also could apply to anybody. We talk about immigration and the visa question, housing, things like enrolling children in school, bringing pets, moving your belongings internationally, and stuff like that. So it's really a great set of resources. And I will give you the link in case you want to check it out. I'm going to give you the link in here. And that has, like I said, 9 modules. It's almost 90 videos of resources that talk about the different ways that you can move to France and the different questions that you need to think about and ask and prepare in order to plan appropriately. So we give our clients access to all of those things when they sign up to work with us on a package to do their visa application. It complements the services that we provide. So we do things like getting people signed up for healthcare and exchanging their driver's license and stuff like that. And this particular resource complements and does the things that like we can't do for people, because it's things like thinking through your tax situation or getting a shipping company to move your stuff. So it sort of complements the services that we offer and make sure you have a really comprehensive set of resources to get ready for your move. Jessica, how do I apply for a long stay visa? I can answer that question by telling you to read Foolproof French Visas, which is my book, and I don't seem to have one in front of me. That was silly. Usually I have one right here on my desk. My book, Foolproof French Visas, is a complete guide to the French visa process. The 2022 edition is really great. It's over 500 pages long. It covers everything that you could possibly want to know about visas. We are starting to work on the 2023 edition. There are not a ton of changes, but we don't have a release date yet. We do tell people that if you buy the 2022 edition, and you review it on Amazon or send us a review, then we will upgrade you to the digital edition of the 2023 edition when it comes out. So we'll have some more information on the release date for that when we get a little bit further along in the editing process. There are a couple of new visa types that might be developed over the summer. So we're waiting to see if we're going to wait for the timeline of those new visa types to be developed, or if we're just going to go ahead and publish the new edition in the spring. So there is currently an immigration law that is being written and debated in the French Senate that might have some new material. But in any case, if you do buy the 2022 edition, if you get the digital version that's available on our website, you automatically get an upgrade to the 2023 edition. If you buy the 2022 edition on Amazon in a paperback, then you can email us a review and we'll give you access to the digital version so that you get an upgrade for free as well. Mary Jo, would you please do a high-level review of the steps and requirements to sign up for and receive healthcare once the visa is approved and arriving in France? Okay, so you are going to be on a visitor visa, so you're going to have a 90-day waiting period between when you arrive in France and when you are able to submit your healthcare registration. So we're going to actually take care of that for you. Kim is now the expert in all things healthcare. For those of you who don't know, Kim is my colleague. She joined full-time. She joined Your Transformation full-time in January. And so now she is in charge of healthcare registrations. And she will send you a list of documents that we're going to need from you. And what we do is we put together the complete packet for you. So we fill out the forms, we assemble all of your documents. We already have a lot of the stuff that we'll need from you because we did your visa application, and we put everything into a neat little packet. And then what we'll do is we'll put together a letter with exact instructions, where to send it. I wrap it all up nice in an envelope. I stick some chocolates in the envelope, and I will send it to you in the mail. And the letter will say on it what date you can mail it. So I forget, Mary Jo, exactly what you're going to arrive, I think early April. So we'll tell you 90 days from that date, you can stick it in the mail on, let's say, July 5th or July 7th or whatever it happens to be. So it'll be really easy. You'll have it in advance. And then you may get some letters back from CEPAM telling you that they need more documents. If so, you send it to us, no big deal. We'll help you provide the correct information. Other than that, they will send you back a letter with a temporary social security number, and then they will follow up with requesting things like a photo so that they can produce your carte vitale. I will say that if you are planning on registering for healthcare in France, you want to check your birth certificate now before leaving, before submitting anything to CEPAM. They are very picky about typos, about unclear information. We have a client who had several name changes during her life, and her birth name is not on any of her later documents, like her marriage certificate. And they don't understand who she is, and it's not great. So there can be extra paperwork to provide if, for example, you go from your birth name to married name number 1 directly to married name number 2, then they might want a paper trail for all of those name changes, because they do make sure to get your name exactly right on the healthcare registration. Okay, so Mary Jo, I read there was a chest x-ray required. Yes, there is a chest x-ray as part of the OFI process. In some departments, they have a place on site where they will have you get an x-ray. In other departments, they give you an appointment so you can go get it before you attend the appointment. And in some departments, they just tell you, get a chest x-ray before you come, and you bring the paper that OFI gives you, you bring it to a lab in your town where they can do an x-ray. And that really depends on where you're located. Other than that, the exam is basically like, did you get your childhood vaccines? And if you're American, they usually tell you that you're a little bit fat, and they give you an eye exam and things like that. It's really not serious. If you have ongoing medical issues, if you had surgery or something that you need help with in terms of getting into the medical system, they will typically give you advice on that, but it's really not a big deal. For the Profession Libérale visa, the current employer will become my client. Will a letter from them saying they'll pay me X dollars per hour suffice? That will be one good supporting letter. I have one I have a husband and 3 kids coming with. Do I need proof of health insurance for all of them? Yes. So the visitor visas in there will need health insurance, but the profession libérale applicant will not. Mary, if we own an apartment in France and go to France 2 or 3 times a year, but total days in any 6-month period is less than 90, then can we use a tourist visa and also avoid being French residents for tax purposes? Yes. What banks are allowing Americans to open accounts? Not ones who are not French residents. Our bank closed our account a few years ago, saying that all of Société Générale Group had decided not to have American customers because of FATCA. That's not true. I know plenty of Americans who have accounts at FATCA, despite FATCA. So they can't. No bank can really block Americans from having a bank account because there's something in France called the right to a bank account. And if an American or if anybody in France who is a French resident has been refused to open a bank account, then they can solicit the Bank of France, which will assign a bank to open an account for the American. So even if theoretically, like a bank could refuse to open bank accounts for Americans, they can't do that for everybody because the Bank of France could send them people. So Connie, I only need the health insurance portion to start applying for my visa online. Are there any companies that others have used that are recommended? Can I do the online application on my iPad? I do not own a desktop computer. I don't know if the application can be done on an iPad. I have never tried to do it on an iPad. Typically, French websites are not well developed in the sense that they do not work on all browsers. Whenever I try to make appointments for people at different prefectures, they're like, oh, you have to, use this particular edition of Firefox. And if you have Chrome or you have Safari or you have whatever, you're not going to be able to access our site properly. And it's not our fault if it doesn't work. So for France visas, I really don't know. I would think that it would be okay, but I have not tried. For the health insurance, you don't need to do the health insurance before you apply for the visa. We typically encourage our clients to use Mondasure. They're okay. They're not, they're catastrophic coverage. They're a secondary policy. They tend to be cheaper than the US policies, but how well they might reimburse you or how reactive they might be if you ever needed it, then I'm not really sure. I would say I consider the health insurance requirement more a cost of getting the visa than I consider it actual emergency coverage if you were to need serious care in France. Now, that being said, you are never going to be asked for your credit card information before getting medical care. You're never going to be denied medical care for an issue. Going to the emergency room is like 18 euros. So really, I would not stress about whether or not, you would be fully covered. And really, it's just a stopgap policy between when you arrive in France and that 90-day period if you're a visitor. Does one need a lawyer to get a 1-year visa as a visitor or an artist? No, we do that for people and we are not lawyers. What are the chances of getting a 1-year visa if you try it without a lawyer? It depends on if you've read foolproof French visas and you know what you're doing. People do it by themselves all the time. We have many clients people who have read foolproof French visas who have done it using our book, using information from the visa website, etc. So there's not really an issue. I would say that for any artist or entrepreneur visas, you do want help and outside consultation just because it's really, you have to know what they're looking for and you have to know the format. And if you don't, then, there are things that you can say that will kind of, they'll make your project a little bit not suspicious, but, if you word things a certain way, then they'll think like, oh, they're going to start a big company and we need to see their financing plan, or, oh, they're going to have employees. And so we need to, make sure they understand social charges, like stuff like that, where, it's really silly and you might not think of it, but, that throw up red flags that cause the people to scrutinize your application a little bit more closely. So we just kind of, smooth things over and make sure that you're not making your business seem more complicated than it's going to be, because that's where people tend to mess up a little bit. What bank is the best to have an account that can be accessed in France and the US and transfer funds between countries with little or no charge? Also a reference to any international accounting firms that can advise about taxes. So we advise that people use Fiona Warren from Currencies Direct. You can tell her that I sent you. And actually, let me give you a link to her in the chat. She is great. She's really responsive. Currencies Direct is a currency brokerage service, and they'll help you to get the best rate for your money. So you can block money in an account with them and lock in rates at different times so that if you're not planning on transferring your money right away, or if you want to target a particular exchange rate, then she can help you out. And they have fairly low fees. So I normally recommend, if you're buying a house, if you're buying a car, we have our business clients who are investing 30,000 euros, use Currencies Direct. Monica, my husband and I have military retirements, which gives us the ability to not work. We have a small business coaching practice where we conduct business via Zoom. We have 3 school-age kids who have all been exposed to French. We would like to move to French for the culture and mentality. However, we have no idea how to go about doing it. How do you do it? Okay, so you hire us and we help you to write your business plan to set up your business in France. So when you are moving to France and you have a business, whether it's an online business or any kind of business, really, it depends. There's a little bit of a distinction between a brick and mortar business that is run physically in the US and a business where you are the business and where your butt is sitting for the majority of the year is where you are a tax resident, and that is where you're going to pay social and income taxes. And so for you, that means that you're going to register your coaching business in France and pay your social and income taxes in France first. And that's what we help people to do, is to move their businesses here, get the right visa for that, and then and get set up upon arrival. Coaching businesses, typically, you're going to go with a profession libérale visa to start. There's a cap of 77,000 euros per year for 2023, and it goes up a little bit each year. But if you're under that cap, then you do want to go with the profession libérale because it's a lot easier to put together an application for that kind of visa. If you are earning more than $100,000, you can also potentially do a passeport talent visa, which requires setting up an actual company, but that's going to be a lot more expensive for you. And that's something that we would talk about in a one-on-one call. Priya, I'm waiting for the décision favorable for my prefecture. I signed a contract with a company in France, which starts on March 1st, and now I don't have the required visa. I tried to contact the prefecture, but no luck yet. What can I do? I don't know anything about your work contract, Priya, so I really can't answer that question. I don't know if it's a passeport talent that is not subject to an autorisation de travail. I don't know if it's something that has to be approved by DREETS. I don't know if you got a master's in France and visa. I don't have enough information from this question to be able to answer that question adequately. All right, whoever is putting in the anonymous attendee comments, you can please leave. And yes, I did say where your butt is sitting because that determines where your visa is sitting, where your business is, and where you need to register and pay taxes. You don't come on my free calls to criticize how I help people for free. So please leave. Elizabeth, is the entrepreneur profession libérale visa obtainable if an individual is self-employed through a remote digital business with no business ties to France? Yes, but part of the business plan is going to be putting together ties to France because it's going to go through a lot more smoothly if you have business, if you have potential clients, if you have networking opportunities, if you have some kind of business that we can link to France. Would it be possible to attain the profession libérale visa as a self-employed person with a remote business? You need to have one business plan. So having one business and then writing a plan for a different business and then trying to do them both is not a thing. You need to have one business that's focused on, one business plan that's focused on one business. And, you can connect different things that are related, but one application that makes sense, because the easiest way to get a visa application rejected is to confuse the person who's reviewing it about what you're going to be doing. Tamara, do you help with finding an apartment? No, but we have a partner who does, that offers separate services from us, but we refer many people to them. We've had clients who have had a lot of success getting nice apartments and getting long-term leases, because some of the apartments that are geared towards expats and the agencies that are geared towards helping Americans and new arrivals in France apply for apartments, they're all like secondary residence leases where you don't have the same protections as a tenant. So we work with a partner who really advocates for people to be able to get primary residence leases that offer the same rights and protections as any French tenant would get. What is the price to attend Bloom Where You're Planted in autumn 2023 at the American Church, and is a reservation required? I have no idea. I don't think there's any information available about 2023 Bloom yet. I'm sure we'll be attending when it happens. It was in October of this past year. I will post it on Facebook when I know. Mimi, my husband and I have income from 3 jobs in the USA that can be done remotely: stock photo, lending, real estate. We want to start a business in the south of France to offer real estate photography and tourist photography services. So yeah, that sounds like a great plan. The thing about real estate sales is one of the other income streams that you mentioned. all of that is going to be, will have to be done through a US company. Like there's no way that you can funnel real estate sales through a French business. So that's absolutely going to have to stay US source anyway. We'll talk about how to do that, and you can talk to an accountant who's familiar with both, but I have some ideas about how you can set that up. And it's establishing the French business that's going to really help you, with the visa application. Jessica, how can I switch my visa to a more long-term permanent visa? I'm tired of renewing every year. I keep renewing, but I want something and I'm long-term and I'm not sure how to do it. Well, unfortunately, if you're on a visitor visa, there's no good foolproof way to switch to a long-term multi-year card, because a visitor visa is just that. It's for people who are visiting. It is not something that enables you to establish residence or a tax residence. Yes, in terms of getting a 10-year card, no. Usually for that, they're looking at income and the fact that you're paying taxes, which you're not doing on a visitor visa. So, I mean, you can potentially write a cover letter and, provide additional documents that would to request a longer card, but there's definitely no guarantee. And unfortunately, with the new NF website, the Administration Numérique des Étrangers en France, where all visitor visa applications are submitted for renewal since the fall, now it's not really possible to upload additional documents and things. So it's really hard to say. And it's very, you used to be able to go in and talk to the agent and have a nice rapport and request it and bat your eyelashes. And now that is all out of the equation. So it's really unclear how things are going to happen moving forward. Patricia, I want to retire over 65 in France, and my income will meet the minimum requirements, but I will still need to work part-time, and I would like to do some kind of remote work. Is this feasible? Yes, but you need to have a visa that allows you to be self-employed. Can you advise on an arrondissement to live? Or if it is a suburbs area, which suburb would you recommend? I assume you're talking about Paris, Patricia. It depends a little bit on what your budget is. If your retirement income is only meeting the minimum requirements, which is 1,353 euros net per month, that is not going to be enough, unfortunately, to get anything within Paris itself. I would say that you want to focus on some of maybe the western suburbs of Paris. There's a pretty big American and expat community out there. It can be as expensive as Paris, but not usually. And there's a lot less demand, obviously. The one disadvantage is that normally you have to take the RER-A into Paris, and that line can get a little bit persnickety in the summer, especially. It has a lot of challenges. Other good places to look are the southern suburbs, all of the suburbs that are, kind of in the south of Paris, around the RER-B or the Line 4 or the ends of the metro lines can be really nice as well. And usually you get access to the metro fairly easily. Chris, can you please discuss French estate taxes? When does French residency begin? So when you have a visa and you've been in France for more than 183 days, you're automatically a French resident. In terms of estate taxes, you're going to have to talk to a notaire about that. Anything that is estate planning, estate taxes, succession, you're going to have to talk to, no matter who you are and what age you are and what your asset situation in France is, you're going to have to talk to a French notaire to understand how your wishes would be respected under French law, because French law is very different from US law in terms of succession, and it's not my area of expertise. We have a workbook in Fast Track to France that outlines the questions that you want to answer before you speak to a notaire, but I'm really not qualified to provide guidance on that topic, unfortunately. Final question from the ones that were pre-submitted, and then we will move over to the ones that have been submitted this evening. As US citizens with no income in France or in Europe, will we have to pay US taxes? Yeah, so you have to file your if you're a US person, you have to file a US tax declaration every single year. The threshold for filing is really low. There are plenty of companies that will help you to do this, and I would really recommend using a professional for that, because once you get into any kind of expat tax situation, things get complicated very quickly. So if your income is all US source, then you're going to be paying taxes on it in the US as you normally would. However, you will also be liable for declaring your income in France, because French residents and French tax residents are liable for declaring all worldwide income on their French tax declaration. So if you have earned income, like business income, self-employment income, regular employment income, normally that should get taxed in France first. And this is why I have a beef with people who will advise you that you can work remotely without getting the proper visa, and you're going to create a huge tax mess for yourself. So that's issue number one. If you have investment income and you're a US person, so investment income would be things like interest, dividends, capital gains, Social Security, pension income, IRA, 401k distributions, anything like that is going to be taxable in the US. You declare it in France, but you're going to get a tax credit equivalent to what the French tax would have been. So you end up paying zero French tax. Now, second caveat, if your income is pension income, typically those are not going to be subjected to PUMA. PUMA is Protection Universelle Maladie. It is the amount that you pay to register with the French healthcare service, regardless of whether or not you actually benefit from it. It is required. There's no getting out of it. You cannot opt out of paying PUMA, even if you don't intentionally register yourself. However, so pension income, not taxed for PUMA, or not subject to premiums for healthcare insurance in France. However, interest income, dividend income, anything that is directly in an investment account that is not in a retirement vehicle is going to potentially be subject to PUMA. So you want to be really aware. It's a really hard thing to calculate. I don't do it for people. I don't answer questions about PUMA just because like the calculation changes all the time. They are very opaque about exactly how it works, and I don't feel comfortable making an estimated calculation for somebody when I don't know what it's going to look like when you actually get here. So you just have to report your income accurately and wait for the bill, and then ask questions at your tax office if you need to. All right, I will now entertain questions that are relevant to moving to France that have been posted in the comments. Carla, I'm registered for intensive classes at Alliance Française and not degree seeking. My US university told me it would take 7 weeks to receive a copy of my diploma, which would be after my classes start. Is the copy of my diploma required for a student visa if I have my official transcript? That's up to Campus France and whether or not they think it's good enough. Études en France, EEF says documents can be in French or English. Does that hold true for docs I bring to my VFS appointment? Yes. On the student visa, there are restrictions on things like type of work, pay rate, etc. So pay rate, no. If you're on a student visa, you are allowed to work for a French company on a CDD or a CDI up to 964 hours per visa year. So you can have the status of employee, you can have the status of intern, like stagiaire. If you're stagiaire and it's related to your studies, then it may or may not count towards your total number of work hours that you are authorized. There's no restriction on pay. The work does not have to be linked to your degree program. But yeah, 964 hours per visa year is going to be roughly 20 hours per week if it's for the full year. It's going to be more hours than that if you, for example, take the summer off, work full time during the vacations, but less time during the academic year, things like that. The other thing I will caution you is if you get a visa that is valid for less than 1 year, then that 964 hours is prorated. So if you only get a visa for 6 months, then you get half of 964 hours, which would be 400 and something. I don't know, 82. Erin was checking VFS Global in Houston for the earliest appointment, said it's 8/3/23. Yeah, that's French dates. That's French dates. They release appointments about 3-ish weeks in advance. So you're not going to see appointments for the summer now. Could you run through briefly what happens when getting a French driver's license? So to get a French driver's license, there are 2 ways to do it. One is you have a current valid driver's license from a state that enables you to exchange it for a French license. And you have this, critically, you have that license before you move to France. If you move to France with a visa in March and your driver's license for Texas is issued in September, you are not going to be able to exchange that license. So you have a license that is exchangeable. Once you are here and have established residence, so you have a long-term place to live, you're going, or we, in your case, Mary Jo, we're going to do this for you. We're going to create an account on ANTS, which is the website where all things related to cars and driver's license and all of that are registered. And we're going to upload documents. We're going to need like a photo from you. And again, Kim is the expert in this now. She will email you and tell you exactly what she needs when it's time, and she will be super on top of it. So we'll need your photo. We will send you a list of documents to be translated. So we'll need the front and back of your license. We'll need your driving record in the state for your license that we are exchanging. And because I happen to know that you have exchanged a different state to get that license, we will also likely need the driving record from the state where you previously had a license. So if the exchange was recent, we want to give them at least 2 driving records because they want to see the longevity of your license so that they know to backdate the license to your license's original issue date. And that's so they can give you a full license with all of the points that you can have as an adult driver. So we submit everything online, or Kim does. And at that point, we wait, and they tend to process all of our requests on the same day. So I think they, wake up on certain days, and we always joke about it. They may come back and say, like, please give us additional documents. But usually they come back and they give you an attestation de dépôt saying that your application has been submitted. If they request anything else, we send it in. Then you get a request saying, okay, your request has been processed. Please send us your current driver's license. So you send in your US license or your non-French license to ANTS, and they will give you like a receipt to put in there. And then once you do that, you will have a piece of paper that allows you to drive while your license is in transit, basically. So you can still drive during that whole period. And once you have done that, once you have submitted your license in the mail, it's usually very quick. They will send you back your new French license by your letter, normally within about 10 to 14 days. Should we get the French driver's license before buying a car? You don't have to. We have had clients buy cars and register them with their US licenses. Some dealerships, some insurance can be very picky about that. You just have to talk to them because sometimes they don't know. They don't know you can do that. You do need your French license within 1 year, but yeah, normally it's no problem to buy a car. And we have people that will help you to get car insurance on your US license, and then you'll just need to provide your French license when it's ready. Okay, let's see what other questions. All right, if you ship your household stuff via freight, what are the timing requirements to avoid paying a customs tax? It has to be within 12 months of your relocation. I would say it's 12 months of your arrival in France, not from your OV date, although you could probably get away with making that argument. The contact name at Currencies Direct is Fiona Warren. Let me give you her email too. The link that I gave you, though, will put you in touch with her because she takes care of the link will connect you to me. Like sometimes we do get affiliate commissions if we recommend her. That's not why we recommend her, but just in the interest of transparency. But yeah, she handles all of our clients. So if you use that link, you'll get put in touch with Fiona. Is it possible to open a bank account in France before establishing residency? It's much easier once you have your visa. I would say there's no point in trying to do it until you have your visa and a long-term place to live. You can use things like Wise, Revolut, and have a euro balance. There's no reason to worry too much about opening a bank account before you're here with a visa. And yeah. There is going to be a recording. Of this. I'm going to edit it slightly. It will go out on Wednesday, likely with the newsletter. All right. I do want to, again, share the link for making a donation to Women for Women France. If you're able to do that, even if it's a small donation, it would be super helpful to them and to their mission. And, in honor of International Women's Day. And please do listen to the episode on Wednesday. It's important issues that everybody in our community of being immigrants in France, of being, many of us immigrant women in France, that we really need to work on and support. See what else. I'm doing 52 weeks of Alliance Française classes. I know your book says you can't have more than 2 weeks between programs, but I do get to take time off since students applying at university will be getting more time off between semesters. Yeah, you can have like a semester schedule. You can take the summer off, but you should have the total number of classes. I would say you want like 36 weeks of classes out of 52 at least. Can I go to your site to email? We don't take questions by email. I do questions once a month on a free Q&A. You can pay to schedule a consultation with me if you want me to answer all of your questions personally, but I don't. If you want to do a paid consultation, that's 1 hour, then I can give you the link to that. But we don't take questions by email from people who are not our clients. So I offer a couple of different things for people who want to consider working with us. One is I offer these free Q&As every month. No matter where you are in your process, no matter what your questions are, you can show up here, you can submit your questions in advance. I will do my best to answer them. And there's no charge for this, although again, I would really appreciate supporting this wonderful organization if you feel that you have gotten some valuable information out of today's session. In terms of consultations with me, there are 2 different options. So for people who are ready to begin the process and who want to talk through what would it be like to work with me and my team, what would it be like for us to help you with your visa application, what are our fees, what packages might be best for you, we answer like, I'll answer, one or two questions about the visa process to make sure that we're on the same page about what you need help with. But it's really a consultation about how do we work together and is it a good fit? And that's getting to know each other and seeing if our personalities match, if what we offer is what you need. It's not an obligation, it's not a sales call, because I really want to make sure, like, we work with a very small number of clients and we really just want to make sure that, we're going to be able to provide you with the support that you need. Outside of that, I also offer 1 hour paid consultations that are for people who have a lot of questions, who want personalized attention to their questions, but who aren't ready to discuss working together. Like, maybe you're more than a year out from your move. Maybe, you think you want to do it by yourself and you just have some questions or want me to review something before you submit your application. Things like that. Again, not a sales call. There's no obligation to potentially continue with our services. Although, if you do continue with our services after that and purchase a package, I will apply the cost of the consultation to the cost, as a credit to the package. So, you don't lose out. It ends up being, that you got a free consultation to discuss working together. So that's how I work. We don't answer questions from non-clients by email. So those are your options for getting help with us. The links are in the chat. All of the links that I posted are in the chat. All right. Anything else? A chocolate wine. All right. Great. So if you do want to potentially work with us, you can find us on our website, yourtransformation.com. You can listen to the podcast to hear inspiring stories about people who have moved to France and the types of lives that they have created here, the projects that they have worked on since arriving, including some interviews with some of our transformation clients and some of our team. And again, if you are considering working together and you're getting to the point where you are ready to take those next steps, please do reach out to us via our website. If you're ready to talk about working together, I will give you the link to the free call to request a free call as well. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I was a bit tired tonight, but I think I got through everything. So I will look forward to seeing some of you on our next call, which is on, I believe, April 10th. No, let me look. Our next call is on Monday, April 3rd, same time, same place. You should normally get the link to attend because you attended this one. It gets the same list that it goes out to every time. And you can submit your questions in advance as you normally do. So I look forward to seeing you there, to hearing from some of you about beginning the process of embarking on your transformation. And again, please listen to Wednesday's podcast episode and donate if you can to Women for Women France. Thank you and have a great rest of your evening. And I will see you later.